welcome Flip Clock fans. You're looking at a Juliette model ADC 325, but we're going to talk about Kentech. Why is that? Well, this Juliette happens to be the same clock as a Kentech model R325, and these clocks have a very common mechanism that is almost exclusive to the Kentechs. And we're going to talk about that mechanism, and I don't want to make any enemies here, but it's not a good mechanism. But let's talk about Kentech first. Kentech was a registered trademark of Kendall Technology Corporation of Miami, Florida. The corporation most likely took its name from Kendall Lakes, Florida. This area once had a large Jewish population, and the president was Leonard Solomon. Juana Roy was the vice president, and Alan Hammerman was the secretary. Kentech was known for stereo, hi-fi equipment, audio, stereo tuners, audio stereo receivers, radio receivers, and clocks. The Kendall Technology Corporation has some interesting trademarks. One, of course, which is Kentech. Another is Digimaster. That sounds like something from the 70s, doesn't it? And ACCU-DIGIT. This came out in '73. They had a slogan, "Time is our business." And Kentech, it is time.
It is time.
Or Kentech is time. It was really going for it there. Thought highly of themselves, but the Kendall Technology Corporation is no longer with us. The last active legal record of this corporation in the United States was dated 1995, and U.S. newspaper advertisements of Kentech products had essentially disappeared by 1988. The company did have a presence in Canada under the name Kendall Technology of Canada. It was incorporated in 1980, but it was dissolved for non-compliance at the end of 1989. Kentech, our time is up. So here we are looking at the Juliette, and the reason we're looking at it, we'll look at this here. Guess where I got this? Goodwill, because Goodwill likes to mark their clocks up like that. I don't know why. It usually comes off pretty easily. Anyway, someone had a problem with their clock. It actually was a Juliette. And it's the flipping part of it, which is kind of buggered up. It's kind of got a unique mechanism here. As you're seeing here, the minutes are separated into the tens of minutes and the minutes themselves. In other words, there's two tile sections for the minutes. There are other problems with the mechanism, and we'll go into those once I get into this. There are lots of different types of Kentech clocks. I'm not going to say they're all bad because I haven't seen all of them. I would just like to say that it's probably not a good first clock for somebody wanting to get it into flip clocks. It's going to be aggravating for you. So here we go. We got this Juliette open. Look at that little radio board there. It's just AM in this case. That's just a little bit of... You could put your stash inside this clock. There's a lot of room in there. It is the 70s, you know. This is where we could hide our stash. Now look at this motor. We're going to take a closer look at this motor. Just because it's unique. It's different than what you'll see in a lot of our flip clocks. It uses a coil there to make an electromagnetic field around that rotor. So we're actually going to take this apart. We had a member of FlipClockFans.com who was having trouble with their clock running slow, and they speculated that maybe this motor was gunked up. We're going to take a look at that. So here we're going to take this coil off here, and this coil helps to create an electromagnetic field around the rotor that you'll see there on the left, which provides the rotational motion that's going to run the clock. So we get this coil out of the way first. In pretty good shape. Of course, you want to not have your clock powered on when you're doing this. And as far as this, the rest of this motor part, those two screws you want to leave on, the top and bottom there. And you want to get these other three screws out first to release this part of the motor here. It says Rhythm Japan E95 550. And there's the little gear that's going to run the whole clock. So we're going to take this apart here so we can see what possibly could be causing this motor to run slowly. I'm not saying I know that that's what the cause is. Remove this here carefully. You can see how that provides an area around this rotor here, cause it to spin. And that's what gets the motion going, gets the gears moving to allow it to turn the clock through that gear right there. This just comes right out, and you can see a little bit of grease there on that wheel. And this one here doesn't have grease anywhere really, but there's some grease on the back side of this. So you could see if this was gunked up, if that grease had gotten hardened, it could slow the rotation down. So it's possible you could clean that grease out, maybe put some new grease in there, and maybe get your clock moving. So that's a possibility of what could be going on with these motors. I just thought it'd be interesting to open this up and take a look at it together. I've never really seen one like this close up. Goes back together real nicely. Then we'll get that back together and get on to this part of the clock. What the problem is, the person who had asked us about this clock was saying that the clock was flipping really kind of crazy. So it wasn't flipping over at the right time. Let's see a little bit here if this one does it here. So you see the hour didn't flip over when you would expect it. It flipped over later. What's causing that? You might be able to see what's going on. And what it is, so you see there's not a holdback for the digits here. And if we try to hold it back with our fingers, we might be able to get it kind of going right. So it's a simple matter of getting these things off here so that we can try to replace those tines, those holdbacks. Just kind of pop this off just real easily. Just pop it right out. And then we'll try to find something to replace that with so that we can hold these digits back and hopefully get the clock running correctly. This actually is a common thing with these Kentecs. From other restorers that I've talked to, those things break off, they weren't well made. The material is sort of like a hockey puck material. Kind of a hard rubber material. So we'll go ahead and pop this off here and see if we can get an idea of how we're going to fix these tines. Now this isn't high-tech stuff here. Some of the times it's trial and error. I can't tell you how long to make the replacement, but what we're going to use is a zip tie. We're going to use the end of this zip tie. It's about the right size. And we're going to glue that onto our little hockey puck here and try to get it about the right length that's going to hold back. Again, I can't tell you exactly how long that's going to be. I'm going to guesstimate it, and it's possible I'd have to redo it. Again, your clock may be slightly different than mine. So we'll go ahead and get this glued on here and get it all back together. Now the reason I had to pull it off the clock was because we're going to use some glue here and we want to get it away from the mechanism. We can't screw it up any more than it is already being a Kentec. So we've got to keep everything clear here. And yes, I'm using my wife's pink tweezers. She still hasn't missed them yet. They're the best ones I have for stuff like this. So I'm going to line that up. Hopefully, you see, there's a high level of expertise in this clock building here, rebuilding here. I don't expect everybody could do this. This high level of dexterity. It's nice to be ambidextrous. I am ambidextrous, although my right hand tries to take over from time to time because I was brought up in a school where they did not like people being left-handed. So I would get my hand smacked whenever I used my left hand. I'm still trying to recover from that emotionally. But again, we'll get this together. So here we go. We got super glue, and this is awesome stuff. It's going to help us out here. It was invented in 1942, started to be marketed in 1958. In about 1970 something, I flipped some of this stuff in my eye. Turned solid red right away. It hurt. So I'm telling you, you should be wearing goggles and gloves at this point. But because I'm a expert in this, I don't have to do that. I've been working with this stuff for a while. But the rest of you should be using gloves. But really the main thing for that is, if you get this on your hands and then you touch your clock, you're going to leave a fingerprint there. You don't want that. Now this glue, it'll cure fairly quickly. Well, at least it's not going to go anywhere. Keep it secure there. But this glue will cure after a while, but to speed it up, you're going to want to use baking soda. And that's going to weld that right on there. It'll allow us to get right to business. We won't have to wait for it to cure. So off camera here, I'm dipping a toothpick in some baking soda just so I can kind of get it started. You see that white powder I'm putting on there? Just to kind of get that secure. And then as I go along here, I'm going to add a little more super glue and then some more baking soda to kind of shore up this tine I'm putting on here, because the forces that it's going to be subjected to, we want it to be secure. So I'm just putting my little powder on here. And you can just see someone asking me, now why is there a white powdery substance in your clock, sir? I don't know. It's a clock from the 70s, you know, that's all I can tell you. Well, that makes sense. Anyway, we're gonna get this on here. You can see what I'm doing, a little more glue here off camera. I didn't show it very well, did I? And then a little more baking soda until you get this mess. I always blame being on camera for not being as neat as I could be. Well, see, the thing is, skin will heal, but your clocks won't heal. So be careful. It's a good thing I'm such an expert, huh? Anyway, there we go. We got that in place. We're going to see how this kind of goes with this one new tine. And it's about right. But you can tell we're going to have to get the minutes kind of lined up as well. They're going to need to be held back so that they'll flip at the right time. So we have to get this other one done as well. Let's see. If I had a tine there, it would work. A little extra powder had to get off there. I'm just kidding. So again, I really like this the super glue baking soda trick. It's a well-known trick on the YouTube for lots of different things, and it comes in handy, real handy here in a lot of different areas. But you want to get all that off of there, get the evidence off. And I could have been a little neater. We'll go ahead and use our black marker here to hide the evidence. I could sand it down and make it look smooth, but you know, when you get this together, you're not going to see all that anyway. And a simple matter of placing this hockey puck back in here. It fits right in there. You want to keep the glue away from there in case you have to fix it again, of course. And we're going to see how it flips. Not real satisfactory, but it is a Kentech. And that's close. I mean, really, that's probably when I get this powered up, it's going to be fine. It's going to work well. And again, if you didn't like the way it was flipping, then buy a copal, for goodness sake. Seriously, it's probably going to be about right. But that's a good way. So if you have a Kentech, again, no offense, I've got a couple Kentechs. It's a flip clock, for goodness sake. So it's got benefit there. I mean, it's by nature of being a flip clock. So that's it. That's how you did it. I don't want you guys to be afraid to work on your own clock. You can do it. Like I said, it's not rocket science. You're not going to blow yourself up.